Because you know there's a handful of people actually run everything. That's true. It's provable. Not conspiracy.
It's all about control. To them we just cattle, numbers, battling each other while they creeping in the shadows, scheming, plotting, clocking your every move, locked in your mind, brainwashed until it's rotten. Got the population operating as they want them, symbolically mocking them, thinking nothing can stop them. So open your eyes to the lies of the evil, the poison in the minds and the lives of your people. And every time they lead you down a line to deceive you, and by then it's always too late to see through the veil that they hide behind, cause your third eye is blind. Better take a stand, we running out of time. Ain't nobody coming to save us, fuck what you had in mind. Arm yourself with the truth and jump behind the battle line. Can we turn it around? Yeah, it's possible. Divided we'll all fall, but united we're unstoppable. This is for the world, this is for the masses, attached to the strings being pulled by puppet masters. This is for the youth, searching for the proof, keep on looking for the clues, I'll provide you with some truth. This is for the ones waking up from the spell, beginning to discover themselves. Yeah, this is for the youth, searching for the truth, keep on looking for the clues, I'll provide you with some proof. This is for the world. Yeah.
All right. Hey, everybody. This is James Cordiner, your host of this show, A Hitchhiker's Guide to Truth. Thank you all for being here, and I'm happy to be back. I am a little blindsided this evening. I really wanted to provide a nice show for y'all, but it seems that the scheduled guest decided not to show. So whatever. we're just gonna roll with the punches here, and we're just gonna have fun with it. So it's a Saturday night, you're watching A Hitchhiker's Guide to Truth, and here we are. I have a backup guest possibly coming on, and we're just gonna stall and wait to see what happens with that. His name is, well, I don't want to say what his name is until he's here, so we'll see. I've got him I don't know, maybe he'll show up, maybe he won't. But for now, why don't we talk about a little something. You might have been seeing, let's get rid of my camera for a second. See this symbol here in the middle. That is a symbol for the Philosopher's Stone. So what I'd like to do is I would actually like to bring up, if I can, let's bring that up, and then I would like to share this with everybody here. We can get rid of that. So what we're looking at is basically a breakdown of, if everyone can see that, right? All right, everyone can see this. I'm still not exactly used to the software for, oh, here's Derek. All right. Well, hold on 1 second. Derek, if you can hear me, just nod your head when you're ready to go. You ready to go? So anyways, while we're waiting for Derek to hop on in, we'll just take a look at this this symbol here. All right. And he's ready to go. We'll bring him in too. Hey, Derek.
Bonjour. Thanks a lot, James.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for hopping in at the last minute.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I was just going through this real quick before you got here.
I love this slide, man. Yeah. Conscious Humanity, is that their website? Evolve Consciousness, right?
Yeah, evolveconsciousness.org.
Yeah.
That's where I got this from, and it's a pretty intensive breakdown of the symbol for the Philosopher Stone. And I was actually going to just go through this before you came in. So
cheers, yeah, have at it. That's Chris Nelson, I believe his name is, who made all these slides, infographics. Yeah, man.
I honestly, I have no idea. So that's good information. But this is this is one of the better breakdowns of this symbol that I could find, comprehensive breakdown of it that I could find. So it's important because I've been using this symbol as when my camera is off, I've been using this symbol, and I figured I would just bring something up to show the audience out there that's watching, a little bit more about what this symbol means and kind of get down to it, because in pop culture there's been a lot of references to the Philosopher's Stone throughout the ages, and well, at least throughout our lifetimes, and I think it's a pretty important topic, pretty important symbol to really bring forward and to explain to people, because even like in American culture, people don't even know this, but Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone was originally titled Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, and the character in that movie / book, sorry, excuse me, in the book and movie, there is a character that is referenced as, and his name is Nicholas Flamel. And Nicholas Flamel is a real life philosopher, a real life alchemist from history that we could read up on later on. But the idea is that Nicholas Flamel, so not in Harry Potter verse, but in the real world, that Nicholas Flamel was an alchemist who actually created something called the Philosopher's Stone, which is highly regarded as something that that can actually transmute lead into gold. And that is physical lead into physical gold. So what in reality, though, is what we're going to explore here with this slide, is that the Philosopher's Stone is more in this day and age thought of to be something that you do with your spirit, where you're turning the metaphysical lead into gold. And that means that you're taking yourself out of base consciousness and raising it up to a higher level. And this is the process in which one can do that with. So step one. So what we see here is a circle within a square, within a triangle, all of that within a larger circle. And we can just take it from the top here. The top left is 1, which is the circle, the most inner circle, which would be the make of a man and woman in the circle. 2, then a quadrangle, which is the square. And 3, the out of this a triangle. 4, and then make a circle again, and you will have the stone of the wise, or the Philosopher's Stone. So the self, which is the innermost circle, works through the matter, which is the square, towards a unity enlightenment, which is the triangle, with truth and morality of the higher will, which is the outer circle. So step 1 is the self area, which is the behavior boundary, and 2 would be the world area, which is the law boundary. So I would like to focus on step 1 at first, which is the behavior boundary. This is where we exercise our free will. And then step 2 would be the law boundary, which is the laws of the universe. And this is step 1 would be the free will aspect, the free will component, and then step 2 would be the deterministic component. So that's like the natural law part, which is the deterministic component, and then the first is the free will component. Then the Trinity unity area, and 4 is the spirit area. So as a further breakdown, it's number 1 is the self, and consciousness, care, and will, which is harmony with consciousness expression, which is the inner reality. And that is like what happens within the self, the inner reality of what's real within yourself, not like a solipsistic postmodern type of reality where like you are, you know what I mean? Like a solipsistic type of reality where you're the center of it all and everything revolves around you and you're the creator of the reality and things only exist because of your perspective, right? Based on your perception, excuse me, not perspective, perception.
Plato in the cave type of thing?
What's that?
Plato in the cave type of thing?
Well, more like, so that would, the allegory of the Plato's cave. That allegory is more like, it's more equated toward like a modern interpretation would be how the media lies to you, and that the shadows on the wall of Plato's cave is like all the lies and the deceit, and that you're chained to one of the other wall, and you're forced to watch all those shadows go by on the cave wall, and that sorry, my producer for the network is texting me. It's all good. He'll catch up sooner or later. And we got Fred in the chat. I think Fred's watching. Bonjour. But yeah, so the allegory of Plato's cave. That's a good reference point where it's like, well, that's more or less just buying into lies, right? Where we're being fed a certain view.
Yeah.
And they think that based on the shadows being cast on the wall, that's what the outside of the cave looks like. So that's more like that. That's more somebody else shaping reality for you instead of solipsism. Solipsism is more just like an inner perception of reality being like your perception of reality being based on just like you are the one creating it, right? Like there's like really no truth, like that's more solipsistic, where there's no there really is no reality. It's all based on your perception of it, when we know that that's absolute bullshit, and that's really satanic.
I've tried to rack my brain trying to like put myself into a solipsistic mind state. Like, all right, I got my truth. I'm living by this. I'm at the center of my own universe. But all the other billion people that's their truth and their universe. It's just, man, like trying to tripping over like logical fallacies all over the place. But anyway.
Yeah. So what we're dealing with here is like an inner reality, when it's like you're aligning your inner self with reality. So like you're being real about, the harmony within consciousness expressions. So where you're being real about that, you're not lying to yourself about that. You're coming into harmony with the inner, you're with your consciousness, and kind of stop lying to yourself type of thing, and getting real with where you're at. And then reality, then number 2, the square around the red square around the green circle here, it's color coded. I really like this. So that would be reality, nature, matter, and the universe. So so this is the outer reality. This is everything around us. So the harmony of perceptions with reality that quote is. So that quote is very important, when that is the definitive is. So that's just what it is. So this is the enemy of solipsism, really, where solipsism says reality is what you say it is. And this is saying that reality is regardless of what you perceive it as. There is a base reality. There is a solid foundation to reality, regardless of your perception of it, that reality is reality, and that's just reality. So, and then 3 would be the unity enlightenment, which is the actualized true self, harmony with aspects of higher self, higher will, and natural law. Do right, admit wrong, correct errors, heal, grow, evolve. These unities would be the unity consciousness, which is thought, emotion, and action, which is like inner and outer. Inner outer would probably be more like, your inner would be your thought and emotion. Sometimes your emotion can be both, where you keep it to yourself, or you can show them through your actions. So that's the inner and outer. Then unity reality, which is, align perceptions with reality, which is also an inner outer type of thing, which I'm seeing it more like, it goes on to say like alchemy, apophysis, and separating falsehoods from truth. And then the unity opposites, which is sun and moon, heart and mind, logic and intuition. So like this is really a really nice breakdown of this symbol. I'm as much more more and more appreciating it as I go through it. But unity of the unity higher self, which is unity with natural moral law, which is realize, actualize, individuate true self. So that like this is really really nice. So where are we here? Hold on one second. Thank you, Aaron. I know you can hear me. Aaron's my producer for the One Great Work Network. He's wicked cool.
Oh, yeah. Aaron Butler?
Yeah, Aaron Butler. He's
cool,
wicked cool, man.
What's up, yo? Yeah.
And
yeah, that Freedom Summit's coming up, yo.
Hell yeah, man. Oh,
Sovereignty, right? Excuse me. With Corey
Corey Endrelat and Aaron Butler. It's gonna be massive, man.
Yeah. Are you up in there?
No, I need to see if I can squeeze in on that. To be honest,
man, dude. I did one with him in August, actually.
Yeah, it's gonna be something wicked cool. Oh yeah. And then we have where were we? Oh, Trinities, which masculine, feminine, enlightened, mind, spirit, body. Thought, which is the Father, the Mother, and the Son, which we see that Trinity all the time throughout religions. Especially in the Christian religion, you got the
Holy Trinity.
the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, which to me is like they complete in order to set up some. So we're here. So the Father, the Mother, and the Son, the Mother would be the Holy Spirit. And it's common knowledge by now. And if it's not, then let me take you to class, not you, Derek, but maybe some of the listeners out there can hear this and be like, huh. Well, they took the feminine, the feminine aspect of the Holy Trinity, and they literally killed it by call it the Holy Spirit because they want the feminine aspect of it to be dead. So they set up this patriarchal type of thing by empowering the Father and the Son, which are both masculine, and killing off the feminine. And and when they do that, they're actually taking the emotional aspect of the Trinity and they're creating death toward that as well.
They circumcise her, man.
So they're taking the emotional aspect of it and they're making it dead. So another thing that you could actually take the word emotion out of this and you could replace it with care. And that's the feminine aspect of the Holy Trinity would be emotion and care. And if you're dead in care, well, you're going to be out of balance, significantly out of balance. So we go back to, we go back up to step one here. I don't know why it's doing that. But anyways, we go back up to step one. We have the self, consciousness, care, and the will. So care is in there. And if you're absent of care, that's the part of this that is the self. That is the number one. That's the inner circle here. So self works through matter toward unity enlightenment. And we already know that when we get to unity enlightenment, some of the trinities of how that is, kind of brought about, that we work through these trinities like mind, body, and spirit, thought, emotion, and action. That's also mind, where the thought takes place, spirit, where your emotions and care take place, and then you take your actions and you perform them with your body. So these all work together. The masculine, Father, feminine, Mother, enlighten, the Son. You show you have enlightenment based on your actions. When you know, KNOW, instead of just believe, when you know, where were we? To do right, to admit wrong, correct the errors, heal, grow, and evolve, that is when you're performing action, and that is when you reach enlightenment. Yeah. So that's when we see another trinity that we're familiar with, very, very familiar with this day and age, is knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. That's masculine, thoughts, knowledge. You see how this breaks down? It all goes down the line. 1, 2, and 3. They all relate. 1, masculine, feminine. 2, 3, enlightened. mind, spirit, body, knowledge, understanding, wisdom, thought, emotion, action, body, spirit, consciousness, initiation, true care, actualize, self. These are all interchangeable. However, they do kind of work better when you when you are lining them up together in such a fashion. But this is where the big, all of this right in here is where like the big stuff happens. And then after that, you reach number 4, which is the spirit area. That's this outer circle here. Truth and morality, higher essence, natural law, higher will of spirit, the perfect ideal, the ought we discover and aspire to. So, that's when with truth and morality of the higher will. So we're getting to the tail end of this, but it says up here, truth, love, good, right, morality, natural law, higher self, higher will. So right, like as in correct, as in after you've done step 1, this has to be done in order, by the way. There's no skipping step 2. You have to have an understanding of step 1 to lead you into step 2. 1 and 2 are prerequisite to be able to get through step 3. Step 3, 2, and 1 are prerequisite to get to step 4 and understand what you're doing when you get there. So when we get there, we want to be able to have, especially through step. Yes. We just got a comment about the 4 corners. The 4 corners of the square also represent the elements: earth, air, water, and fire. Thank you. And yes, it says so right here: fire, air, water, and earth at each corner within this diagram.
Yeah,
it says that as well.
Those elements, and working with them, and not, working against them. As we progress, towards those trinities and unities, and the truth and morality, natural law, and all that stuff. And yeah, man, it's a stepwise process, man.
That anonymous Facebook user, for whatever reason, his name's not popping up, but that's our boy Will Keller. Thank you, Will.
Oh, word.
Yeah, he even said that's Will Keller.
Yeah, buddy. Chill, man.
in the building. Thanks, Will.
Yeah, buddy.
That's Will Keller in the building. So, and then that actually brings us back to, if I'm probably going to mess this up. So I'm going to attempt this, but that brings us to where right here under trinities, what Will's talking about with the elements, with the trinities, is the salt and the mercury and the sulfur. These are the most important elements in alchemy. So that's why they're in the trinity. The 3 of these are around the 4 elements here, because the 4 elements working together actually produce salt, sulfur, and mercury. So air and water together, actually, air and water together are supposed to, there's a combination kind of equation that goes along with the elements, and how the elements combined help create these fucking elements. So not the elements. Is it an element?
Well, salt's a
the periodic table of elements.
Iodine in the salt, for example. Things like that.
The periodic table of elements is where salt, mercury, and sulfur exist, right?
Mercury as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they can also be, metaphorically, interpreted as well, as far as,
Yeah. So sulfur is a product of fire and air. Then fire and earth, like that's where you hear the saying, the salt of the earth. So that's more of like the physical. And then the sulfur, then the liquid would be air and water. Mercury is a liquid, but there's there is a connection between the 4 elements with these other 3 elements that are on like the periodic table of elements. Excuse me, I got something in my eyes. But yeah, that was an interesting connection there as well. But yes. So thank you for bringing me back to that, Will, because This is also this square is representation of the world area, and we know that the physical world that we see and touch and smell around us every single day, we know that these four elements exist in that world. So we have the earth that we stand on, we got fire, that we can get energy from, we have the air that we breathe, and the water that we drink. So it's like we live in this kind of this physical reality, right? And within that physical reality, we have the self. So the circle being within the square is no mistake, because we live within the natural reality, which is what this square is being referred to. Thank you. Yeah, Will says, earth and water make salt, water and air make mercury, air and fire make sulfur. Thank you, Will. I knew there was an equation there. I just couldn't remember it off the top of my head. But yeah, like this is quite the slide. This is very densely packed, And if you whoever's watching this or listening to this, if you're out there, Philosopher Stone, man, like there is a lot in that symbol. And I've taken a very great liking to it, because this is a lot to do with how our actions can manifest reality, how we live within reality, recognize it, and how we can honestly, like we can change a lot if we can change a lot in the world around us if we first take steps to change ourselves. And this right here is kind of a very condensed, I know it's very heavily packed, but it's very condensed at the same time, because it's really not, it's very complicated. It's not that simple as just reading a paragraph of information and being like, oh, now I know. Like, no, no, it takes like it. I mean, not like I'm the big, guru or anything like that, but it does take a long time to like get a grasp on all of this. I'd say I'm someplace in here in the step 3, being able to come into balance with my thoughts, emotions, and actions. That's something that a lot of people struggle with. And it's something that a lot of people need to start being honest about. And that's maybe just my opinion, but I think that emotion thing right here, I mean, thoughts and emotions, they kind of work together. I mean, these all work together. That's why it's the Trinity. You need to come into balance with them. But,
both can trigger each other as well. And you said it before, the emotions have been cut off, that sacred feminine has been cut off since before antiquity and all that. So it's all about resurrecting that and, having it firm and, rectified within oneself, and having those two pillars of enlightenment, the sacred masculine and feminine. And that is number one out of the gate. Once we get that at least somewhat, and then we can navigate, be that circle within the square and navigate those elements and kind of work with them, reaching that unity consciousness, and, being more into the, trinity of things, and being able to, act through right, wisdom, because everything's, just there, and there is that divine care. And I think, when people get that activated, that, like the alignment and aspirations to just do right and do good for the betterment of all kind of just falls in organically with oneself, and just like how they carry themselves on a day-to-day basis and stuff,
Yeah, that's true, because we all create this, like in the aggregate, we all create this reality together. Like that's the whole point of like all of this, is like, how do we be a better influence on reality? How do we be a better influence on the world, like, and produce a better outcome, that not only we'll benefit from, but that our neighbor, our fellow person, will benefit from, that even the other sentient beings on the planet will benefit from. And this is a really good starting point. I'm not saying that this is the only way.
Of course.
I'm just saying that this is, one way that encapsulates a large amount of information that somebody could take in and just kind of reflect upon to see where they're at if they use this as a, as the base, you know what I mean? Like, and just see where they're at according to this. It's not a bad, taking off point and starting line type of thing. But all in all, like, the inspiration to really pull this up and to talk about it more was to kind of like, because I saw something a little disturbing on, I do like a fair amount of doom scrolling on Facebook period, throughout the week. And I'm a part of a lot of good groups, not shit posting groups or anything like that. I'm a part of a fair amount of good groups. I try to surround
Pretty good balance.
myself. Yeah, I try to if I'm going to be on that
Yeah,
platform, I'm going to surround myself with some more positive sounding groups where we explore occult symbology, and we occult symbolism. So, and we do, so symbology would be like the study of symbols, right? Right? Is that right? So, and then symbolism would be just, I don't know, but the whole line from Boondock Saints where what's his name, Willem Dafoe, is like symbolism.
Yeah, love that movie, man. And I totally, that always comes off the top of the head when that comes to mind, man. Good call.
Yeah, and so, and I think about it all the time too. But I try to pay attention to these groups and everything. And I came across a post by this poor person that this seemed lost. They were just like, I want to get a tattoo of some symbolism on me, and what do you guys think I should do? And I said, I think you should be really careful. I think you should be very, very careful of what you get tattooed on your body, because you're essentially just branding yourself with a symbol that carries a lot of power, and you want to be sure that you know exactly what that means, because you're going to be carrying that power with you. And that kind of just made me want to kind of dive into a little bit of symbolism here, and to see what it's all, and to see this symbol and whatever. And not to mention, like, it doesn't help that I did have a guest kind of lined up for tonight, but it wasn't you. And
no worries, man. I love the freestyle anyway, so
What's that?
I love the freestyle, and whatever's clever.
Yeah, man. So
happy Catterday, by the way. I saw one scurry across behind you there. But speaking of movies, real quick, have you seen the movie? I'm sure you have. The Golden Child. Eddie Murphy back.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, is that the Eddie Murphy movie that they used to play on Comedy Central?
Yeah. Or was it? Or he did Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
But anyways, the Golden Child, sacred kid from Tibet is hijacked by this satanic group real quick. And what they've done, they've captured him. They have him just like in this like room with people on all four sides of his little cage thing. And like the main leader guy, my sweet brother Numsi, I think Eddie Murphy would like to refer to him as, he made it very clear that, there needed to be four people on all sides, like having that, square that, entraps that circle. He was in a circular cage. I found that very symbolic and intriguing. I don't know, I'm not in depth enough to, understand all these things and how it might even apply to like this Philosopher Stone theory of how like there's a circle that's boxed in by a cube, basically. And you understand like the Tesseract and all that, and all that stuff. So interesting things come to mind. It's nothing like evil I thought about it, but I just thought like how the satanic groups and whatever, how they're inverting those symbols and all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely, there's a lot of power in the symbolism, and the inversion of it is equally as powerful as well. Just like, take for instance the Church of Satan using an inverted pentagram. It's like that's some shit right there too, where 4 of the points are supposed to represent the 4 elements, and then the 5th point pointing up is supposed to represent the spirit, and then they turn it around to have the spirit pointing down, like where the spirit should be pointing toward according to that symbol, it's pointing up toward the heavens,
Yeah.
and then they turn it around and point it down to
Their
their
self-consciousness.
hell. Ooh. Oh, you're gonna die and you're going to hell. Like
Yeah. Keep us rooted
that's
in the material world. And
yeah. I guess that's what the whole point of that is like to put the spirit toward the material instead of the spiritual plane, which is the universe. Where you think about it, like that's the reason why the star is pointing up. It's not really supposed to be like heaven, where angels are playing harps and stuff like that and flapping around with their little white feathery wings on clouds and bouncing around on clouds like trampolines. It's more just like, no, we're pointing it toward the heavens, toward the stars, because that's the universe. That's creation up there. That's where we've all come from. Like we're all like made of this. If the theory is true of like, the universe being created out of something like a big bang or some sort of way that life is created, and it's thought of to be some sort of, grand, big thing, I guess would be. But if we got to come from out there somewhere, we didn't just show up here one day. We were created. There's a source of creation out there somewhere.
I mean,
And
what
it's
about the
out
law
there. It's not.
correspondence?
What's that?
The law correspondence in regards to conception between a male and a female
Uh-huh.
here, that's like an explosion in a sense, right? So
Yeah.
it could be something, with the elements and all the, space dust and all that makes it happen, the gases and all that. Who knows? I mean, like, I don't know. I don't even try to even go there right now because we got priorities and all that with freedom. And, if we talk about space and all this, a lot of flat earthers get hung up on just simple things, and like they can't get past like what we're actually getting at, which is like, truth, natural law, and morality. But, as soon as we say something of any curvature or like, because they think space is fake and all this solipsistic stuff, or whatever the fuck, it's just like, let it go, guys, please, like,
Yeah.
and like what you're saying with ancient cultures, weren't they all like pointing to the stars, like, like our ancestors come from up there, whatever, and they want to say like all these ancient cultures drew dome type of maps, even though they didn't circumnavigate the whole entire world and all this. It really doesn't matter, we're not going to talk about this for another 2,000 years, guys. Like, let's try to get free up in this bitch,
Yeah, that's where that's where I'm at with the whole, shape of this plane, if you will. That's where I'm
Yeah.
at with the whole idea is that like, look, like, I've said it before like this, is like, doesn't matter if the earth is flat, round, hollow, solid. It doesn't matter if we're on a fucking tetrahedron, for crying out loud. What matters is that while we're here, are we free or not? And we're not. So why don't we get free, and then we can settle the other stuff after that. And truth be told, well, actually not truth be told, the reality is that we will never know the truth so long as we are existing as slaves. You want to know the truth about what's going on here? We have to be free first, and then we'll know the truth. Then,
Yeah.
only then will we be able to push forward and know the truth of what exactly is going on here. Until then, we have to work with what we got, and what we got is a system of slavery. We end that, and we'll know the rest. It won't solve all of our problems. I'm a big adopter of that idea as well. Is that just because we're all of a sudden 100% free to use our, to make all the choices that we want, does not mean that all of our problems will be solved as well. We're still going to have a lot of fucking problems, but at least we'll have the free will we already have the free will, but at least we'll be able to exercise it,
Yeah. And like, how many people are actually exercising, whatever percentage of their potential free will that they can actually use right now? And let's go back to
Very
the
little.
Philosopher Stone. How many people are actually, doing that inner work, that inner harmonization, that balance, that, sacred trinity within themselves?
A lot of
It's
people
instead
think
of
that
like
they're doing,
going,
but they're doing it based off of a lie,
yeah,
and if they're doing it based off, if they think that they're doing it, that's great. But if you're doing it based off of a lie, then you're not really doing it. So you got to like kind of recalibrate, and figure out, got to come back to the start, and then go from there, build a better foundation.
yeah.
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 And then, but yeah,
What
it's
the good old
interesting.
codes of consciousness, natural
What's
law, objective morality. Yeah.
well,
These things
morality
get
is the
so
big
far
one. Like,
out, man. Like, yeah, hermetic principles, yo. Like,
yeah, morality is the big one where people have a lot of they struggle a lot with it, because I even experienced this in my own time, where people
how
do
we all.
like they do want to do the jumping jacks to try to see what they can get away with.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
You got
tough.
kids, I'm sure you know. Even,
No, these are full grown adults I'm talking about here.
yeah, right. I know, but
They're not, my
seen a lot
children
of
are like,
classic.
yeah, okay, dad. All right. And then they just go and push boundaries anyways, because that's what children are supposed to do. Like,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's like,
That's their learning process in a sense, I suppose. I don't have kids,
yeah,
but
well, maybe one day.
yeah. But I mean, going back to alchemy, like turning metal into gold, right? Are people really turning their mental lead bullshit low base level consciousness into golden thought and stellar personality type of shit, instead of focusing on all this external shit. And you see like these people coming out of their face with talking shit on the internet as if they'd actually be saying that in front of someone's face in real time, real life type, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like high school shit. Like you said, they're not acting like adults. They haven't worked enough on themselves, ain't even fucking trying to look at themselves in the mirror and actually hear themselves speak the way they did, like, as if they're talking out of their ass. Yeah, that's
I
that
think
base
that
level consciousness. They're stuck in the root chakra in a sense with a lot of stuff, and like it goes well beyond that. But yeah, James, you were saying?
I was going to say that I think that a lot of people, I think that a lot of people are pretty good. It's just
Yeah,
unfortunate that
totally.
like they've been misled. That's the unfortunate part about it, is that
Yeah,
they largely people are good people. They're not going out and willfully causing harm. At least they're not doing it to other people, right? When we're talking
yeah,
about
like
sentient
Rocky.
beings, like there's plenty of us that cause harm to other sentient beings, or partake in actions that cause harm in other sentient beings. When it comes to something I don't really talk about a lot, which is like the diet and whatever, um, but I mean, largely I see people just wanting to, wanting to just live their lives in peace, and
Sure.
wanting to not have to be disturbed. But unfortunately, they're playing into this bullshit game called politics and government, and
It's
and
causing a lot of harm, man.
yeah, it's causing a whole lot of
Yeah,
harm, and they don't understand it. See, this is the thing, like, where they're ignorant of it, and that's the problem, right? Ignorance is the problem. Is people you start spitting truth to people about this kind of stuff, and that's when they're just like, no, no, no. They shut right off, right? They don't want to hear
cognitive
it.
dissonance and all that.
Yeah, yeah. But dude, like I never even like let you introduce yourself to my audience.
Yeah, it's all good, man.
So,
I
I
just
mean,
jumped on an impromptu.
so
Yeah, my name is
we
Derek.
have with us tonight, better late than never. We have with us tonight. So how do you pronounce your last, to introduce you? I've never heard you pronounce your last name before. So
Bartolacelli.
Bartolacelli. So
Yeah,
Derek
really.
Bartolacelli with us tonight.
And
Tell
I put
us.
my, YouTube conscious DJ moniker, AwakenYaMind. That's kind of just what I've been rolling with for the past decade. Mixing truth infused music with some great philosophers and researchers that I sampled over some instrumentals, as well as like a countless, great musical influencers and linguistic spiritual lyricists and all that good stuff. But yeah, and then doing more of the podcasting stuff and getting kicked off of YouTube recently, and just trying to consolidate a little bit and be on BitChute and all that shit. But yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, trying
Yeah.
to strike at the roots of the causal factors of what's going on in a lot of ways. But yeah, there's a lot we can be inspired about on the negative side and the positive side. It's all about being able to alchemize and know the fucking difference in a lot of ways. And yeah, I hit people at a lot of different angles with the music stuff, because when you were doing your research and coming through the awakening process, I'm sure you're looking like, damn, folks like Desarion and Passio and Max Egan and them cats, like these presentations and their dissertations are just like, they seem flawless sometimes. Like how can someone, come, someone like us, I was like, dude, I can't speak like that at all. I can't put slides together like that, So I just kind of did my own thing with what I knew and what I was familiar with, and then just building up the grammar, building up the courage to kind of find my voice and all that shit, So
That's the important part of it, of doing some of this work that people, that a lot of people need to come to realize, is that like, you're not going to have the same flavor as, as somebody like Mark Passio or Michael Tessarion, Max Egan, David Icke, all these guys that like we, kind of perceive as mentors, right? Like that we have as mentors. I know a few people that are mentors of mine. One of my best friends is one of my mentors. His name is Sean. I talk about him all the time. He's been one of my really, really good friends, like practically a brother of mine for almost 20 years now. And he's been a major influence on me for the better. And then there's other people that I've met more recently, like Joe Murray and Ivan from Phoenix, that are very, very positive influences on me. And then other guys that I've met too, like Will Keller. Basically everybody that was at the Shattering the Illusion conference, has been a huge influence on me. And then, they're all like my brothers, and it's like an honor to be working with them and everything like that. But the point is at some point you have to realize that you're not them and they are not you. And like that you have to like find your own way to make it your own spicy flavor of truth and knowledge being put back out there in your own specific way of doing the rhetoric. And that's when it's going to be authentic. That's when it's going to come across as authentic. And if you can find yourself in that zone of authenticity, then you're going to come across as genuine, and you're not going to be as nervous as you might be. Like I can't do a 3-hour, 2-hour freaking slideshow every week. I'm not that guy. What I can do is I can do a 2-hour slideshow. Sure. I can do that. It's not easy. That's not what I'm saying. I could do it, but I'm not going to be comfortable. I'm more comfortable talking to somebody, I'm more comfortable having a conversation with someone. That's when I see like the real praxis of this whole thing coming out, is like when you're having a good, decent conversation back and forth with somebody, talking about something and making it, it doesn't even need to be entertaining. It's necessary. So like, that's my authenticity. You find your own. Yours might be music. Others, might be able to do a blog where they're writing all the time. People get hung up on this idea that they have to be putting themselves in front of a camera and a microphone and spitting out some truth and knowledge every week. And it's like, no, some people do that. Some people are better at it than others. Some people do it one way. Some people do it another. But it doesn't mean that that's the only way. This whole many hands make light work philosophy of doing the great work doesn't mean that everyone's doing it the same way. It means that no, find the way that you are best contributing to the great work and do it that way, because that's going to be your strong suit. That's where you're going to be the most productive, and you're going to have the most impact on making sure that some modicum of freedom goes forward into the future, and that we're going to have some sense of freedom, or at least knowledge of what real freedom is. Even if they take it all away from us, the knowledge of it being carried on through the ages is equally as important as it is to actually be able to exercise that freedom on a daily basis. So it's happened in history multiple times over the course of human history, where groups were not free, but through the occult, they were able to occult the knowledge, keep it down, and underground that shit to make sure that that knowledge still existed for later generations, And that's what we're here to do, is to find a way, what best way we can to de-occult that knowledge. So more people have it for themselves, you
You want to
know?
know what's funny? Or it's not funny, but what's interesting as far as like a modern a modern day version of that kind of occulted knowledge type of thing was like through rap music. It's like streetwise spirituality where they like encrypted certain codes and phrases and warnings and things like that to like their proper communities and things of that nature. And a lot of folks, listening to that, it goes so many words and lyrics went over my head for like years and years, and then like finally like you have like websites with like Urban Dictionary and stuff where you can like finally understand what they meant, and it ain't all like that like positive and like profound, but like before like they were like speaking in codes, watch out for the fucking police that are profiling us on the block, and with the CIA 80s crack pipe demolition on black communities type of shit, you know what I mean? So and then they stemmed from like Black Panther civil rights type of shit that carried on through some of that music, especially out here where I'm at, Oakland. Will Keller and John Rowland know about that. They're in the East Bay, but holler.
That's the funny thing about music, man, is that there's so much there's so much there's so much like in the background and in the lyrics of music and everything like that. You would like the show that you would like the show that Francesco Sani and
Yeah, I
Ivan,
spoke with him.
yeah, they do the Can You Handle the Truth in Music shows,
Word.
and like a bunch of
Nice.
us have been have had guest spots on those shows before,
Mhm.
and like it's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
insightful to
Hell
be
yeah.
able to like sit there and pick out some tracks that are maybe popular or not, and just
Mhm.
kind of dive in and kind of do your best to dissect the tracks meanings,
Hell yeah.
maybe some hidden meanings or whatever. And Francesco
Yeah.
is a boss, dude. He's awesome. Yeah.
He's Italian, right?
Oh, he's Italian.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah. More
yeah.
Italian than my, American
Oh,
Italian.
he's Italian. He's as Italian as they come, man.
Yeah.
And
But
well,
he speaks
actually,
French
no,
too. I
he's
reached out. I
not
was
as
like, hey.
Italian as they come, because a lot of Italians are just, they're just submissive, and he's not. So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah. It was tough for
I-
me out in France, man, and it just really goes back to and like the Dorian Greens, just exemplifying out in public, not being afraid, not wearing a fucking mask or any of that stuff during like the most draconian times of the since the dawning of the Rona, right? When they had the lockdowns and all that stuff. Some of us, defied those things and tried to lead by example and show that courage and shine that light for others to kind of like, okay, so we don't have to be that afraid or whatever kind of thing. So yeah, it's it's all about carrying on and we ain't got to be all this self-righteous. Oh, I'm carrying the torch for da, 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 da. It's just like day in day out. Keep that healthy balance of your thoughts and emotions. Carry that over. Transcend the fucking bullshit and maneuver through the matrix as if you fucking own the shit. Basically, I don't know if you heard of like reality transurfing. I'm not too familiar with it, but it's just like using those Jedi mind tricks and in alchemizing situations and not letting reality be so abrasive, and making it work towards your favor, more or less, and maybe you might perk up some ears and raise some eyebrows and say some things that in ways that people have never heard and like, oh, okay, like what is this guy about type of thing, and what the things that he's talking about, like I've heard him before, but not in that way, and so they might actually want to fucking do something, or you might post some things on Facebook and people don't even like react as far as like giving a like or a dislike or whatever the fuck, but they might later on, come at you weeks later or whatever, be like, hey man, I was following some of your stuff. I was afraid to, react because I didn't want to, put my name out there. Whatever excuse people have, at least we just got to continue doing the fucking work. It's basically comes down to that and just finding more innovative ways and effective ways we can do that. And it's really easy to be discouraged. It's really easy to kind of feel alone at times, that you're not being heard at times, that you're not getting enough views and all that shit. So yeah, I've been there before plenty of times, man. I've been doing this for 10 fucking years. It took me 10 years to get 4,000 fucking subscribers. Sorry, 4,000 loving subscribers. Excuse my French. And that ain't shit, you know. Like, you can create a new YouTube channel tomorrow and post some cute dog cat videos, and you're gonna have 10K subscribers within a week with millions of views. Type of, you know what I mean?
Right.
So we understand the truth ain't popular and all that stuff. And that's why,
like you get on there and you post some fucking really just immoral shit, and look how many followers you get. Like it's insane. The world is
post a half-naked lady and
yeah.
some bullshit.
Like are you familiar with The Big Lebowski? All right, so yeah, okay, then you'll get it. When they're at the beginning of the movie, when they're bowling, and they have the dispute. He has the dispute with Smokey. He goes, "Has the whole world gone crazy?"
Yeah,
that's me. I feel like that all the time, and I fucking look at all this shit. Like, you could go on YouTube and make this cookie cutter podcast about reviewing movies, right?
Yeah.
And not to say that like all of that, because I got a buddy that really likes to review movies. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, like, I see these people online like talking shit about movies, and like I don't want to drop any names, but there's like a couple of people that like they make like 7 or 8 minute videos, and they make it's just like, oh, this thing's coming out and it's gonna be dead on arrival, and like they get like 1 million subs, and it's like, dude, like so doing this work for the attention, you're not gonna get it. You're not gonna get the and it doesn't take long to realize that, you know what I mean? Like it just doesn't, like, but I mean, it's about doing. So I told my son recently I had to discipline him, and because he's almost 6, and he is really, really good, and he's really, really good at being a kid at the same time. So, and what that means is that he is a pro at pushing boundaries, and that's what his job is. So it's like, I did not receive very nice treatment when I was a child, so I understand why it's important to express patience, because that's where you learn it from. You learn the patience that you have from the way that you were shown it, and like there's a large amount of truth in that statement. So yeah, I raised my voice, but I wasn't being a jerk. But I told him ultimately, I said, you listen to your mother because it's the right thing to do. We're your parents. I said, I'm never going to tell you to listen to anyone else, but you have to listen to us. You have to do what we say. And I'm never going to tell you to, because we're here to keep you safe, and we're here to get you everything that you need until you can get it for yourself. That kind of talk. And I eventually just came to tell him, like, that's why you have to listen to us, because we know better. Sorry, but you're a little guy right now. You're going to get big one day. And when you get big, then we can have a different type of conversation. But just for now, you got to do what we say, because when he's running through a parking lot, I don't have the time to sit down and have this huge philosophical debate with a 5-year-old about why he shouldn't be running through a parking lot. No, little Jim, you do what I say now. Yeah. Because you don't, hey, don't do that because you're gonna, like, this old gentle parenting thing, because you're gonna, like, no, I don't have time to explain everything, but I did take some time.
Jimmy, I'll tell you later.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, like, I took some time, because when we're at home in this setting, it's easier to do.
Yeah.
But like, I gotta instill that kind of like, no, that kind of relationship where it's like, we're not friends, but I love you, and I'm here for you, and I'll do whatever I'll do whatever it takes, and it's like, well, hey, little boy, listen to your mother because it's the right thing to do. And why do you do the right? Oh, well, and I told him straight up, I was like, do the right thing because it's the right thing. And not because you expect something in return, but just because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And that's that. And that's why we do what we do. It's because it's the right thing to do. Try to spit some, some morality, some
And it's
objective
better than
truth.
saying like, yeah, or else, like having that fear, you
Yeah.
know,
That's the
dwelling in your
Catholic
mind,
way.
like if I do, oh, okay,
That's
yeah,
the
or
Catholic way.
yeah, right.
You know, it's the Christian way, or else
Ha!
God fearing. You know,
Yeah. I
and
mean,
I'm
that's
not.
like that's that
That's how I was
law
raised.
correspondence in effect, man. Like they bring it down to the fucking, toxic patriarchal,
Yeah.
dogmatic religious stuff, and like obey or else or go to hell, and then like
Right.
parents obey or go to your room or get grounded or you're a bad kid or whatever. Yeah.
Sometimes with a parent-child relationship, it is a because I said so type of thing. And it's like, well, you don't want to do that because you want to try to stay away from that because it does commit to like logical fallacies, like the appeal to authority type of thing, where it's like, I'm just doing it because I was told. And it's like, no, I don't want to instill that in my child. But sometimes you have to, when you're that little of a kid, like you don't have time to, like I said, you don't have time to, in the moment, explain to a 5-year-old why they shouldn't be running through a parking lot. You know what I mean? Like you don't have time all the time to explain to a 5-year-old why they shouldn't be jumping off of a friggin' a bureau that's 6 feet tall, or 5 feet tall, however, you know what I mean? Like you don't have time for that. You got to tell them like, don't do that. You need them to listen. Or else you're like bringing them to the hospital for a fucking broken bone or picking
And
them
it's
up
just
off the
like,
pavement because they got run over by a car, like it's like, no, like there's a special relationship there between a parent and the child. I think that where like the parent is allowed to be an authority figure for their child, so long as they're not being viciously harmful toward their child. Like you have the right to be an authority over your child so long as you're
guardian.
not causing harm to your child. That's where the transgression against natural law comes in. So not all authority is bad. Not all external authority is bad, but there comes a time where the authority is no longer necessary because through that authority, you have taught the other person what they need to learn to be the authority over themselves. And unfortunately, we're in a relationship with government where they don't want to give up that authority.
Yeah. But
But
also there's a lot of like babies having babies also. Like a lot of
yeah,
parents are not really that great of parents. Let's just be honest.
the prolonged
You guys
adolescence.
are a great example. And then, I love, Chilwell Keller is, conscious parenting, presentation, and he's a parent himself doing his thing as, some of the natural law free,
Natural
what I
law,
mean.
Natural Freedom League,
Shit.
the Natural Freedom League, and the Natural Freedom Alliance, and
Yeah.
the Freedom Under
towards
Natural
freedom,
Law. They have a lot of they're really good. They're active in a lot of different areas, and they have a few different groups. Will and John and Chris, Leslie, a bunch of our crew. They're really really good people,
Yeah.
and
I
not
mean,
just
hell, I'm
good
trying
people.
to
Like
go to Reading or East Bay and see what's up with these guys,
yeah, you should.
Yeah, totally.
I would if I could, man, but I'm all the way over here on the East Coast. Represent East Side.
Yeah, buddy.
But I feel like this is like Tupac and Biggie.
A little
Like,
bit. I'm removed, man. Honestly,
yeah.
I've spent a third of my life in France.
No shit.
13 years, yeah. I've been married for 9 years, was preparing to have kids throughout that whole marriage. So it's like that care was ignited, a long time ago and stuff. And like preparing myself to be in that, fatherhood and whatever, and researching all types of, prenatal fertility ways of life and, just healthy stuff and the whole birth stuff of, keeping the placenta and even having like a water birth, having a midwife and avoiding certain dogmatic dictatorship hospital protocols or whatever,
Yeah. Sometimes they can come in handy,
Oh yeah, no
sometimes,
doubt. Yeah. I wouldn't dismiss all of it.
sometimes.
Sure.
Yeah. It's just, to what extent, do you let them tell you what to do? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like there are good applications to modern medicine. It's just they always take that goodwill kind of thing that they're trying to do for you, that attitude of like, we're here to help. And then they take advantage of that and push it and push it and push it. And next thing you know, you're like, why did, they're trying to inject your kid with a bunch of vaccines that your kid doesn't really even need. if they're born healthy, there's really no need for any of it. And then they're like, we got to take your kid's blood. And it's like, no, no. And then they try to tell you that babies don't feel pain. Oh, they don't feel pain like humans. No, they feel it 3 times worse. They don't feel pain like adults. I said humans. What the fuck did I say humans? No, they try to tell you that the babies don't feel pain like adults, and it's like, no, they don't. They feel it a lot worse. And I actually kind of had a back and forth with one of the doctors when my daughter was born about that.
Oh,
Very,
yeah.
very, very
Nice.
quickly. They try to, oh, babies don't feel pain like adults do. And it's like, yeah, they do. And I'm like, I literally said, so you're telling me if I walked over there and like pinched my baby on the leg, like they wouldn't feel it, you know? Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like they feel pain so much worse because they're not used to. It's very, very like very basic, you
Getting
know.
their nervous system and locked in and all
Yeah.
that stuff, developing all that immune system,
Mhm.
everything, apparatus. Yeah.
I have a high tolerance for pain because I have experienced a lot of it.
Yeah, man, I've been there
I've
too. Man.
skinned my knees. I've broken bones. I've done this. I've done that. Like I've hit my head. Like I've done it. I've done a bunch of stuff, but to my body that, ooh, that hurts. Ooh. So like, yeah, I'm used to feeling it. So it's like babies are not. So it just kind of by that logic makes sense that they feel pain a lot worse than an adult would.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
But no. Doctors will try to convince you that babies don't feel pain. It's like, no, they actually do. So yeah, like if you're having kids, just be careful. Go to
Hey,
like
man,
a.
sorry, yeah. You
No,
got to
go ahead.
understand the doctor side of things. They got a lot of ego attachment and identification with their 10 years of medical, learning and $100,000 invested into the schools and all that education, coupled with a lot of, indoctrination and all that stuff that they, took in as actual truth. So that's just programming on top of programming and all the common core stuff that we had before that,
Yeah.
folks not really reading in between the lines. And yeah.
Well, yeah, you make a decent point with talking about the bills that they have to pay. So like if they're, you got to think that at some point in time, if based on their track record of what kind of medications they're able to push and get out there and everything like
There's
that. Like
bonuses, whatever.
they're getting kickbacks and stuff like that. At some point in time, they're getting kickbacks. In fact, I wish I could recall off the top of my head, but there is a website where because they have to make this public, they're not allowed. I mean, I don't know, maybe, but there's actually a website where like you can go and find out if your doctor is receiving kickbacks from anything.
Ooh, interesting.
I forget what it's called, but it
Oh,
exists. I've done it.
okay. Wow. Yeah, that's fucking good to know, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. But no, like keeping your distance from them with your children is I recommend it. If you have perfectly healthy kids, there's no reason to go to a well check, a well visit. They call it a well visit. You just show up at the doctor's every like handful of months and they just like check on your kid. Like,
Mhm.
no, like my kid's not sick. Like you go to the doctors when you're sick. You don't go to the doctors when you're in good health. Why
Yeah.
would you go to the doctors when you're in good health?
That's a lucrative income thing, isn't it? Even though it might be covered by insurance, but they're still getting, whatever from the insurance or something, right?
Yeah, it's a racket, really.
But, like,
Insurance.
dude, when I was in France because I was a bartender and server, I spoke with tens of thousands, 100,000 people at least, throughout my whole tenure there. And so many times where are you from with the accent, this and that. And we, like they're really social and really have open ears and they're interested. And a lot of times when we talk about, oh, is it better over there and this and that? And I really try to squeeze in things like, hey man, like we ain't got the same type of healthcare system at all. And I often used to say to them, our medical system is kind of like, unfortunately, it's kind of bound by this, a patient cured is a customer lost type of fucking modus operandi in a sense, this capitalistic, big pharma backed, industrialized medical monopoly, whatever.
No,
dictatorship.
that's absolutely true. Like they don't focus on cures, you know?
That's
Like
like
you
a
said.
you shouldn't say that, man. Like it's like a forbidden word or something, you know. And that's
Yeah.
why the cancer industry is so huge, man. You know.
And I have it on I have it from a very reliable source that if a medication that works well costs too much money to put out, like if it's they will not they will not go forward with marketing that medication. They'll
Oh,
just scrap the whole plan. So that happens in the United States all the time. They'll have people in the labs cooking up these new medications for, say, I don't know, insert ailment here. And if the medication that they come up with works well, but costs too much money to make, and they can't create a market for it because of how much money it costs to make the medication, they want to charge X amount of dollars over that cost in order to make a profit off of it. Right. So
oh yeah,
if they can't make a if they can't put it out with the idea that, this works, but we know it'll never sell because of how expensive it is,
and yeah,
so
never
we
be
can't make a
profitable.
profit off of it, they'll just not make the medication. They'll just be like, scrap it, throw it away,
Damn, you know.
or put it on the back burner. They just won't put it out there. Like there could be cures there are cures for cancer right now. We know, but there could be and it has nothing to do with the medical establishment that had, the medical industrial complex that has uh, that has been created, but they could have them. They could very well have them, but they're too expensive because the drug costs too much money. Drug costs so much money to make
Hmm.
that it's too expensive to put it out to market. And that to
Always,
me is like a problem. And I even asked this source, I was like, why not just why can't they just take the hit? If they know that this medication is going to say, I don't know, cure diabetes or something like that, like why not just take the hit? And
and
it
why
really
not?
just all comes down to money.
But what
It's
about
disgusting.
reaching out to the billionaire philanthropists like Bill Gates and them? Oh
Gil
wait, sorry,
Bates.
the eugenicists or whatever. Can't they want to invest in things that kill us, not heal us? I forgot. You know,
Yeah, everything's a
backwards
vaccine.
fucking shit.
A vaccine that's like
Yeah, he'll go for that,
irreversible.
not the Gerson therapies or the Rife technology.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. Royal Raymond Rife with through what did he come up with? The frequencies that the Rife machine would bombard you with, just like a noise frequency, right? Like an electromagnetic frequency or something like that, right?
yeah,
And it
they
would
try
just
to adjust
basically
the
kill the
frequency
cancer
to the
cells.
frequency of whatever cancer cell or
Yeah.
disease,
You
even
would
like
tune the
foods,
machine to the
whatever.
same frequency and like basically just eliminate the cancer cells in the body, right?
Yeah,
Man, imagine.
even like what they identify as cancer might not necessarily be, this they hyped up like this boogeyman called cancer almost as well. It's not necessarily what they claim it is, and a lot of the diagnoses aren't really what it is, man. They're like trying to sell a lot of fucking drugs to quote unquote, make you better
Yeah.
because they can't say cure or whatever, right? So
Yeah.
we're gonna
And
kill the
even
cancer
sometimes like
and might
even
kill you at the same time slowly.
yeah.
A lot of times, not every time. We're not generalizing here, but
Yeah, I mean it is something that you know cancer is very real. Uh
yeah,
and it's something that like a lot of times when they know that, so let me put it this way. It seems that um they might know something about it that they're not telling the
oh
individual
yeah,
patients, right? So they'll be like, "Oh, there's a chance," when they know there's not a chance in hell, and they'll basically experiment on that person It seems, it's so long as the person gives consent, you know what I mean? And it's like they can do whatever they want.
Yeah. Well, they got
And
protocols now, and there's just that chain of command. I think a lot of people are just, on the lower level of actually administering this and that, and taking them to the chemo stuff. They don't necessarily know that's really like just. Well, I'm sure they do to a good degree, but they might not necessarily know like better alternatives in a sense, like the higher uppers for sure. Like take it back to like the Hospitalers and Knights of Malta and all that shit. I mean, like the hospitals stem from like some ancient shit, and there was like a military chain of command type of you know structure in these hospitals, and those
mhm.
did get carried over into modern day.
Yeah, I mean, they are death camps with cancer. Like I've seen it. I've been affected by it pretty closely. Watched some pretty shitty things happen to somebody that I really loved a lot, and it was terrible. And like it was just like in the blink of an eye, he was gone, and it's like, oh no. Um, and they have a terrible track record of like presenting new things to cancer, and it's experimental. We don't know what it's going to really do, but if it works, it's going to work really well. And it's like, and then the person's like, yeah, please, like, I'll try anything because I don't want to die. And then next thing you know, they're gone, and it's like, what the and then they just so happen to sign the right paperwork that no one's held liable. It's just kind of what happens. It's but yeah, I mean, that's a downer. That's a downer.
Yeah. So anyways,
Yeah.
what else is on your mind, brother? If you wanted to bring it on up.
Oh, I don't know, man.
If
I
you
don't
don't mind,
really
I
have.
mean, like, I was kind of interested. You ain't got to name names, but I will just name a couple YouTube channels that I've just kind of seen in, recent year or so, especially, talking about like, movie critics and this and that. And I do like the fact that some people like Eric July, Young Rippa, who's actually creating real fucking comics as an alternative towards, all this,
Yeah, I
fake
was
ass
not
woke
talking about
bullshit.
him.
Say again?
I was not talking about him. I was talking about
I didn't
people
think
that
so.
rip
Yeah.
off people that rip him off, people that
Gotcha.
rip
Yeah.
off his
Yeah.
style and stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
And
I know you
you
weren't
know,
talking about him. I was actually talking about like the cats they're actually being effective with the taking that approach of criticizing movies and calling a lot of bullshit out, with the fucking Lord of the Blings, whatever the fuck, and trying to with the virtue signaling and all that shit. But
yeah,
like, are you familiar with the critical drinker?
no.
He's out in Scotland, man. He's a good one, man.
Oh,
Yeah, just
did you say critical drinker?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I am familiar with him. Yeah,
Okay, man.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
funny.
Yeah, dude, yeah. But he's pretty spot on with a lot of stuff and how it's like demasculating men and stuff and emasculating,
Mm.
women and stuff, and how it's just like it's a toxic fucking thing of the sexes. And yeah, you see such shitty fucking story writing and like these self inserts of real amateur fucking writers that seem to be across the bay, where I'm from, and like out in like with their San Francisco slippers, sliding around in their gentrified fucking neighborhoods and all that shit, all sheltered and shit,
Oops, I
with
was muted.
techie town, whatever. But yeah, they want to, gloss over what the fuck has already been established, with these new concepts for modern day and all this stuff. And it's like, dude, like, I don't understand. Like, okay, like racism exists and all this stuff, but they keep shoving it in our faces and like, yeah, like the inequalities of females and this and that. Well, there's so many fucking stories throughout, so many ancient cultures that have stories that empower, all these diverse cultures and women as well and all this stuff. But the way it's like they don't want to tap into that. That's like empowering entire fucking nations if they want to like, and they think we're gonna change the world by making a fucking movie. It's like who the fuck do the fuck these people think the fuck they are? Like goddamn, like we're gonna influence. This is how we're trajectory of humanity is. We're gonna influence everyone through a fucking screen. You know what I mean? And it's like ironically we're on a screen as well, but you know what I mean, it's just like there's way too much fucking emphasis on just media in general and like all these series and this and that. It's like, whoa, calm the fuck down, people. And like some of it's just on purpose as well, even like the umpteen million fucking podcasts that are out there, it's just like things are so fucking inundated, and it's really hard for people to like subscribe to like some good content and stuff, and or like they're pulled apart and spread out so fucking thin that they can't even get towards stuff like this, for example, or peep out like the One Great Work Network, where you're gonna come across a whole lot of stuff and they're gonna be like overwhelmed, like, oh my god, so many new content creators, you know what I mean? So man, it's just crazy. You can just fucking like throw a rock and you'll hit some kind of someone who's doing something on YouTube down the street, and like
It's
just,
true. Everybody's got a
man,
podcast. Everybody's got a YouTube channel where they want to do their thing and everything like that. But
a lot of it's limited hangout shit though too.
Yeah, there's a lot of so there's noise and then there's signal, right? There's a lot of noise, a lot of fucking noise, But luckily, like there's there are some there are some pretty big platforms out there that give the little guy a chance. There are some pretty big ones out there that'll do that. Not for nothing. I mean, say what you want about the guy, but Alex Jones just the other day had Mark Passio on for like an hour, and now they're
again,
yeah, and
no shit.
and now Alex Jones said something about how him and Mark are going to do a 2-hour podcast uninterrupted. So they'll be doing that. It's
interesting.
It's say what you want about Alex Jones, but he's got a pretty big platform and a lot of listeners, and he's on like the national stage right now, and a lot of people are giving him their attention. And if Mark Passio can get this guy's ear for an hour, 2 hours,
his audience,
and talk about natural law, that's a step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't got to be me or you that does it. It can be, it should be a guy like Mark Passio who's got the rhetoric down pat.
He's a fucking maven,
yeah. It should be a guy like him that's got it down pat, that can go forward and talk to a large audience like that. That's ready for that. I'm not. I can say that. I know a lot of other people that'll be like, no, I don't want to do that, and like I'm perfectly fine with where I'm
down.
at.
But a lot of people are more, qualified for it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, but it's
weird talking to Alex Jones, man. I don't know.
I personally, I don't think I would. I don't think I would, just because it's just like I don't know. But that's just me, and I'd be nervous as fuck, because I do my thing. I do what I do, and that's what I do. Other people are going to go to do what they do, and that includes going on a major platform like that, and whatever. I hope to one day see Mark Passio on Joe Rogan. To be honest, like that would be really cool. Like,
why not, man?
And that guy's got like over 15 million, views on his podcasts. It's like, okay, that's the kind of impact that needs to be being made. It's just unfortunate that like the vast majority of shit out there is just that. It's shit. In a world full of noise, there's very little signal coming through. And it's like, but again, like earlier, we talked about many hands making light work. It's like, well, the reason, one of the reasons why there is so little signal coming through is because there's of such a small amount of people actually doing it.
Bust through that noise.
The people out there that could be great speakers on these topics, they don't do it. They don't take the time to really reform their rhetoric and to be able to speak on these topics in the way that they're able to relate it to other people. There can't just be one little handful of people out there doing it, and like if you're familiar with it and whatever, then make a couple videos or a presentation here and there and just put it out and just see what happens, and know how to use technology too. Like you can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to talk into a microphone and see what happens. It's like opening up a Word document and pretending that you're typing on the internet. And it's like, you got to be able to use the technology to be able to do it because, you know, for instance, when
That'd
you're
be
making
something
like a
cool.
YouTube video or an Odyssey video, like they allow you to tag, uh, they make, you can tag a word. That way, when people put it in a search bar, like why I tag everything that I do with like anarchy and natural law. So if somebody puts the word anarchy in their search bar, there's a chance my video pops up. Like that kind of stuff needs to happen too, where like how to use the software that you're using. Like so. The point being is that like no one person can be expected to do all of it because no one person can uh, really reach the hearts and minds of everybody else. See, like that's why it's like so important for everyone to do it in their own style. Because you're gonna reach somebody, and then they're gonna go, "Oh, cool,"
Yeah, at least give it a try, and that's and have some healthy pride behind it. Because I'm sure you've seen, like you were just saying, like just like recording into a microphone, like hella basic, like we're in the '90s or something, right? I mean,
Yeah,
hey, that's better than nothing, but like this is 2022 where, like the technology and all the lights and the fucking all the CGI and all the bright images and all that stuff that, either on TV or on so many, YouTube channels now that, got some pretty good, video production behind their stuff, like just doing some basic stuff, might not be holding people's attention as much as, them other guys that might not be saying, like putting out the messages that are really important, but oh, they got the shiny objects kind of thing, like. But it's like, hey, obviously that's not who our audience is, anyways. But at the same time, it's like we want anyone in this audience, like everyone should be, listening to, like the first, 20 minutes at least. We were talking about the Philosopher Stone and all that good stuff, But have you heard about the Spiritualosopher Stone?
now you're just making shit up.
I put out a music mix like a couple years ago titled something like that. Pretty cool, kind of harking on that, and also like I call it the Spiritualosopher's Rosetta Stone. Excuse me, and just gonna, yeah, man, just like sparking interest for people to kind of like be curious about these things, and going back into ancient Kemetic traditions and mystery schools and all that stuff, and like the hunt for the Philosopher's Stone, and just like as well as like the Rosetta Stone is more about, I guess, like building up your grammar, language, right? I guess, like how many people, and I've been bilingual for like 10 years, and that's just like opened up so many different like ways of seeing the world and like thinking about things and like structuring my own language. It's been like really cool, and like, yeah, just want to encourage folks to kind of like check it out for themselves and see there's so much potential we have, like when you're sparked and awake. Have you seen the movie like like Limitless or Lucy and stuff, despite
Mm.
whatever production quality and whatever, just like the concept is cool, and like doesn't that make you want to aspire to be like, and I felt like this, on my spiritual journey of I wanted to tap into more than 10% of my fucking brain at least, growing up learning about this, and like we have junk DNA, what the fuck, and like seeing shit like that, doesn't that make you want to aspire for higher? Shit, my battery's gonna die, man. I'm still with you. I'm just gonna turn my camera off and go get my cable.
No, that's okay. We're coming up to an hour and a half on the stream here, and I was just about to suggest that we wrap it up anyway. So
Oh, sure, right on.
yeah, we should do that and just call it a night. Um, where can people find you, Derek? Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. Last minute and everything. So, but yeah, tell the people out there where they can find your work and check it out. I know you got an Odyssey channel.
Yeah, definitely. I'm on Odyssey under my AwakenYaMind Hitch, my real name. YouTube, I guess we're not supposed to really cater to those monkeys, but you know, all the good stuff, man. I'm on like 8 different platforms right now, so yeah, it's all too good. I'll send you my Linktree thing. I really found just one link where it's all consolidated. So appreciate that, James. Thanks so much for having me on. Fucking have a great weekend out there. Happy Catterday.
Yeah, I got my cats running around all over the place. I got one of my cats' name is Wade. He's the all black one that walks around. He's my little Matrix kitty, my deja vu kitty. So
awesome, man.
He's cool. And then the other one is Star-Lord, the one with the socks. I like to name my animals after comic book characters. So we got Wade, who's Deadpool, Wade Wilson, and then Star-Lord, like the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy, Peter Quill.
No way.
And yeah, so there they are. They're in the other room right now. So yeah, man.
Awesome.
Did I finally get? Oh man, I didn't. Oh my god. I was gonna say, like, I saw I just received an email. Is that the person that was supposed to come on tonight? Oh man. Oh my god. Sometimes it's hit or miss, man.
C'est la vie, mon ami.
Yeah, right. So all right, Derek. Thanks for coming on tonight, man. Again,
pleasure, honor, man.
So everyone out there, I want to just reiterate what we were talking about earlier. It's up to us, really. It's on us to kind of get a grasp on where we're on who we are and where we're truly at, and to try to raise our consciousness to a better, higher level, so we can produce the change that we want to see in the world and live according to natural law. So, again, like I told my little son, that it's not about doing the right thing because you're expecting something in return. It's about doing the right thing because simply it's the right thing to do. And that's where we truly need to be at. Just, learn the difference between right and wrong. Align yourself with right action and move forward in life, trying not to harm anybody or anything. My name is James Cordiner. You've been watching A Hitchhiker's Guide to Truth. Come back in a couple of weeks. I don't have anything lined up for next week, but come back in a couple of weeks, and where we will have quite a show. I have quite a show lined up for a couple of weeks from now. And one last big thank you to everybody that both attended the fucking cats messing around, but everyone that attended the Shattering the Illusion conference, everyone that viewed it, and a big shout out to all of the speakers, and extra special thank you to Mr. Joe Murray for being an awesome collaborator, awesome co-organizer for that event. And and that's that. So anyways, guys, peace out, agape, and until next time.